Hello everyone! I'm Angela with Happy Little Stitch Shop, and today we are back for week 3 of our Autumn Love Sew Along. Can you guys believe we are already in week 3? We are working our way through making this beautiful Autumn Love quilt by Lori Holt. This quilt was originally made a number of years ago using Lori's Autumn Love fabric collection, which is no longer available. There are a few SKUs that are available from that collection, but in general the collection has been discontinued. But Happy Little Stitch Shop, myself, and some Happy Little Stitch Shop peeps, we put together a recolored Autumn Love quilt kit. So we went through the original quilt kit, we pulled colors from a variety of Lori's fabric collections to put together a redone Autumn Love quilt kit. And so we are using that to make the Autumn Love quilt during our Autumn Love Sew Along. So this week for week 3, we are making the bucket block. So this is what we're working on for week 3, the bucket block. Okay, so here is the block we did from week 1, the pumpkin and crow block, and this is using the Happy Little Stitch Shop curated kit. So that was week 1. Week 2, we made this cute little wagon block. Look at how adorable that is. Again, using the Happy Little Stitch Shop kit. So here are both of the blocks for Autumn Love, week 1 and 2. And now we are going to get ready to make this one, the bucket block. So let me get these two out of the way. Hold on a second. And let me pull in what I've done so far. So I didn't get very far because I've had lots of requests to go through this on here, but this stuff is pretty easy. For this part, all you have to do is follow your sew along guide. And if you go to the pages with the fabric, it tells you exactly what to cut for what block. So for this block, if you look through and you find the bucket block, you're going to know all the fabrics that you need to cut for the bucket block, as well as what shape you use, what size you cut your interfacing, what size you cut your fabric, what shape you use to trace on the interfacing. All of that information is right here in the sew along guide, which was all linked on our blog in week 1 of this sew along. I linked you to Lori's blog and to Lori's video, and all the information you needed was in that week 1 post with all the links to all of Lori's information. And then of course you need to have not only the sew along guide, but you need to reference Lori's blog posts for each week to know what we're doing here. That's where you really get the bulk of the information. So if you do a Google search for Bee in My Bonnet Autumn Love week 3 or bucket block, it should pop up her blog post, and she tells you exactly what to do with how to put the block together. So once I go through and I get all these cut out, then it's time for me to sew it. But first, let's go through some fabric substitutions so that you know what we're using for what. So for the star block, this is the fabric we are using for the star block. Okay. You need one of these for the center of the flowers. You need one of these for the other center of the flower. For the flowers themselves, this is the substitute for the star fabric. So the bee cross stitching coral. This is for another one of the flowers. Let's go through the leaves quick. We have 3 leaves for this one, so this is the substitute for one of the leaves. Here's the substitute for another leaf. Here's the plaid substitute for your last leaf. And then of course just the confetti cotton and cinnamon for the stem. We've been using that. And then to make up the pumpkin, this is one of the substitutes. This is the bee cross stitch in pumpkin. This is from Bee Plaids. So that's for another one of the pumpkin pieces. And then the final pumpkin piece are the orange TVs. And then for the bucket itself, I have those cute little designs on the peacock color. Now, interesting note, when I went through and I made this, I was just a tish short of fabric to have enough to do this pumpkin, but because the fabric is cut a little bit larger than the shapes, I was still able to get that shape, even though I didn't cut it exactly. I cut it just a tish smaller to be able to get that bucket out of it. But in our kit, I had plenty, so that's for the bucket. And then I'm going to need to re-iron this because it looks like it got a little wrinkled, but this is for the top of our bucket, so you have to have a cut for the top of the bucket. And all of the dimensions and details are in Lori's blog post, so that'll be linked in my blog post. And then I saved this because we have to do a bias, a cut on the bias for the handle, for the bucket handle. And I've had lots of questions from people saying, how do I cut the fabric if it's not 10 by 10 or it's not 12 by 12? Well, as long as you cut it on the bias, you're going to get stretch. So I'm gonna show you how to cut this, and I'm just gonna cut it, you know, corner to corner. But see, if I try to stretch it this way, I can't, there's no give, right? So if I cut with just at a diagonal, it doesn't necessarily have to be the 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 dimension. If I cut a piece of fabric on the diagonal, look, it's going to have that little bit of give, so that when I iron it, I can curve that piece, and that give will allow me to curve it one way or the other. So we're going to do that together today, where I show you how to cut that on the diagonal, and then we'll I'll iron it to iron that curve into it. So those are all the fabric substitutions. Now it's time for me to take each of these pieces to my sewing machine and sew around the tracing that I did from the templates, from the Sew Simple Shapes. So I'm going to take some time and I'm going to go do that, and then I will come back with all of my shapes sewn, and then we'll trim them and we'll flip them together. So I'll be back soon. Okay guys, I got all of my pieces sewn. I am gonna trim them now and flip them with you. I did realize that I forgot to put some stems in the last section that we did to talk about the stems, so I'm gonna talk about that with you too. And then we're gonna cut the bucket handle so that you guys can see how I cut that on the bias with a thinner piece of fabric. So let's go to the overhead shot and take a peek at what we're doing. Okay, here we are. I always put this on top so that nothing goes flying away. But here we are with all of the pieces. They're sewn. You can see I sewed all these together so I can't get them apart. I just sewed right around on the line that was traced for all of these. And now I'm going to go through and cut these. I did forget, this is the substitute fabric for the flower stems. So these were cut on the bias as well. And again, the dimensions for this are in Lori's blog post. So both of those are ready to go. Now, before I start cutting this, I'm going to show you quick. Oh, well, let's just do this. We're going to cut this. So it's a smaller piece of fabric, but again, it's got give this way, no give this way. Okay, so if we cut it corner to corner, we're still going to get what we're looking for. For this one, we need the 5/8 of an inch, and then it's going to run through the 1/4 inch bias tape maker. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to trim my little point on the end to run it through the maker, and I have my bias tape makers right here. So I'm going to grab the 1/4 inch, I'm going to go over to my ironing, and I'm going to run this through the maker. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I've gone ahead and I've run my strip through the bias tape maker, so when it comes time I will be able to iron a curve into that and make it into my bucket handle. Now I'll pull in some of these goodies, and I've started to trim some of my shapes. I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this to all of them. Trim it, open it up in the back, turn it, and then shape it with my point-to-point turner. Sorry, I'm used to holding it closer to myself. Very gently go around and shape these. Just don't have to be too firm with it. Once I get it pretty good, then I'll take it over to the iron and I'll give it a press. So I'm going to go ahead and cut around all of these, trim them, flip them, shape them, and press them. And then I will be right back with you. Okay, you guys, I went ahead and I turned all of my pieces and pressed them so that they're ready for placement to put the whole block together. So let's take a peek overhead and see how the shapes are looking. Here's everything all turned and shaped and pressed. And now we're ready to start putting the block together step by step. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these pieces that can be put together ahead of time, and I'm going to glue these together ahead of time so that they can dry a little bit. Make sure that looks pretty good. Just a little bit of glue. Is my head getting in the way? A little bit of glue on each of these. Once I get them done, I like to put something on them just to, you know, help them to stay put while they are drying. Same thing with this. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on there, stick it over here under there. Same thing with this. Doesn't look too bad. Put a little bit of glue on there. Stick it under there while it is drying. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to take a little bit of break, let those dry for a little bit, and then we will come back because I need the bucket in order to be able to place everything else. So I'm going to let this bucket dry a little bit and I'll be right back. Okay guys, let's take a peek here. My star is on there. I also glued the top trim to the top of the bucket, and I pinned down here so that I can do this to place these pumpkin pieces. So I've got the first two under there. I'm going to go ahead and place this one in there, and then I can kind of start to mess around with them a little bit. Since I have this one done, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm just going to go ahead and measure how much up. It's about 2 3/4. Ooh, so I need to tuck these all just a tish more. And you'll notice when you're tucking, you don't want them to come out the bottom of the bucket. So yeah, about there. And then you can, I can't remember if I did this on my other one or not. I don't think I did on this one, but you can trim off the bottom of those pumpkins if you want to, you know, not have so much, not have bulk under there. But I don't think I did that on my other one. I'm going to put the stem under there. And then this is where I'm going to get this, and I'm going to go to my iron and I'm going to curve it to be the handle. Okay, I haven't done that yet, so it's still pretty straight, but I'm going to go iron it. I'm going to curve it as I'm ironing it so that it has some curve to be the handle up here. Be right back with a curved handle. Okay, here we are back with my curved handle. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck this side under here and pin it. And I'm going to tuck this side under here and pin it. Now this is where I might have to mess around a tish with the length of my stem, maybe, you know, so that there's a little bit of space up there. See what I mean? So I just put that stem down a little bit. And then look at the handle, look at the bucket. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Okay, now we start to place this stuff over here. And remember, we're going to have our trim it ruler. So I'm kind of looking at my first, it's got to be a little bit lower. I'm going to try for that there, and then this one curves the other way. Kind of like that. And then we just have our leaves to add in. That one goes there. This one kind of goes here. And then this one goes over here. Now I know that I'm going to need to mess around with this because I did on the first one that I did. I had to kind of scooch those flowers over a little bit to get everything to fit. But hey, I think I did a little bit better this time than I did last time. I still think I'm going to scooch those flowers over a tish and try to get this in just a little bit. But then once I make a few adjustments, I'm going to go ahead and glue these down, let them dry for a little bit, and then I'll be right back with you. I'm going to make the adjustments off camera because if I lean too far over, as you can see, then you get the top of my head. So I'm going to make a few adjustments to these flowers over here and maybe bring them a tish closer and glue my items down, and once they dry I'll be right back with you to show you the finished block. Hello everyone, how's it coming along? Is your block coming together? So mine, I'd made a few adjustments to, just a few minor tweaks to pull it in a little bit to fit it in that inside that 10.5 inch ruler, and I glued it down and I think it's ready to go. So let's take a peek. Here is that 10.5 inch ruler, and I think it looks pretty good if I leave myself 1/4 of an inch on the top and the bottom, and I've got, you know, about the same on the left and right. So look at that. There is our bucket block for week 3 of our Autumn Love Sew Along. And let's look at a side by side. Oops, knocked my pins all over the place. There's a side by side of the original Autumn Love bucket block and the Happy Little Stitch Shop Autumn Love bucket block. Not too bad. Look at that. It's so cute. Okay, so we have completed week 3 of our Autumn Love Sew Along, and now we are going to be moving on to week 4 next week. Now in week 4, we are doing the harvest blocks, the 4-inch stars, and the autumn block. So week 4 is stepping it up a little bit. So we've got a few more things to do for this next week. I believe all of these are pieced. So I will be back with you next week on Monday for our week 4 video, including our week 4 blog post. So please be sure that when you, even though you watch the video, please be sure you check out the blog post at happylittlestitchshop.com. Please leave us some comments there. Let us know how you're doing with the sew along. Let us know how you're liking the information that you're being given through the sew along. Leave us comments here below on the video to let us know what you think. And please be sure to subscribe to our Happy Little Stitch Shop YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And of course, be sure that you go to happylittlestitchshop.com for any quilting, cross stitch, and crocheting needs that you may have. We would love to ship out some happy mail to you very, very soon. So take a peek at happylittlestitchshop.com. And in the meantime, I have some fun sewing and putting your blocks together, and I will see you again right here next week. Happy stitching, everybody. Take care.